Love after 60. 99.9% of men can't resist when you say this. The secret he craves.
Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. They say the two most powerful forces in life are time and language. Once they are spent, there is no way to bring them back. And while time shapes the body, words shape the heart. A single phrase can heal a broken spirit or leave behind invisible scars that linger for years. Think about it. Have you ever been lifted by a sentence spoken in kindness? Carried it with you like a quiet blessing? Or perhaps been haunted by words that felt small at the time, but returned in lonely moments like an unwelcome shadow? Words cost nothing, yet their value is beyond measure. Now, picture this. You stand before a vending machine, drop in the coins, press the button, and wait. Nothing comes out. You shake it, push it, even strike it in frustration. That is how many approach love after 60. They press the same emotional buttons again and again, never realizing they're speaking the wrong language to the heart of a man. Because men, especially older men, are not simple machines. They carry layers of silence and unspoken burdens. Yet behind the quiet exterior lies a longing they rarely admit. If you've ever wondered how to touch that hidden place, stay with me, because together we're going to uncover the secret phrase and the hidden needs behind it that almost every man craves, yet almost no one dares to ask for. Before we open this chapter, tap that like button and subscribe to Wise Life After 60, where we explore the quiet truths of dating after 60, senior romance, and the emotional intelligence that makes love last. But before we can unlock that secret phrase, we must first understand the quiet force that shapes every connection. It begins with words, the way they can wound, the way they can heal, and the way they carry more weight in a man's heart than most people ever realize. Number 1. The power of words. Before we talk about what men truly crave, let's pause for a moment with something so ordinary yet so powerful: words. Have you ever noticed how words can linger, almost like perfume that clings to your clothes long after the person has left the room? I remember hearing once that a kind sentence is like striking a match in a dark forest. It doesn't erase the shadows, but it offers enough light to take the next step. And in the same way, a cruel phrase, even just a few sharp syllables, can feel like being stranded in a desert with no water. Every step becomes heavier because of what was spoken. We often look at older men and think they are strong, almost immovable. Their shoulders have carried families, their hands have built careers, and their faces are lined with the proof of endurance. On the outside, they appear unshaken. Yet inside, words can cut deeper than any blade. The strange thing is, those invisible wounds do not heal as easily as the visible ones. A broken bone eventually mends, but a careless phrase like "you never do enough" or "you're just like your father" may echo in the back of his mind for decades. And the opposite is also true. A soft phrase, spoken with respect, can undo years of quiet loneliness. I once knew a man named Mr. Lawrence, in his 70s, who had worked with his hands all his life. He told me the hardest part of aging wasn't the aching joints or the slowing body, It was the silence. For years, he fixed what was broken, carried burdens without complaint, and asked for little in return. But one evening, his wife placed her hand gently on his shoulder and said, "I respect what you've done for us." He admitted that in that simple moment, something heavy inside him finally let go. It wasn't wealth, it wasn't gifts, it wasn't even public praise. It was just a handful of words that told him he was seen and that his efforts truly mattered. If you've ever watched an older man grow quiet after being criticized, or seen how his eyes light up when someone finally acknowledges his effort, you've witnessed the silent power of language. In love after 60, this truth matters more than ever, because at this stage of life, people carry decades of accumulated words, affirmations that strengthened them, but also dismissals that hollowed them out. I often think of it like this. A man may carry heavy loads on his back, but the heaviest burden he knows is the weight of words. And though he may never say it out loud, he longs for words that feel like shelter. Even the strongest man, the one who never cries in public, still needs a place where he can lay down his armor. This is why the journey begins here with language. Before we speak of secrets or hidden desires, we must understand that the words we choose can either close the door of his heart or open it wide. And when you speak the right ones, you don't just talk, you breathe life back into him. And once we begin to see the weight that words carry in a man's life, it leads us to a deeper question. What is it that men, especially in their later years, are truly longing for beneath the surface? To answer that, we must look past the armor they wear and glimpse what lies beneath.
Number 2. What men really need. Have you ever looked at a man you thought was strong, unshakable, and wondered what he hides behind that steady silence? From the outside, men may seem simple. Steady routines, predictable habits, an appearance of strength. Yet, the truth is more complex. Men are not built of stone. They carry layers of emotion, wrapped carefully in what I call an armor of silence. Society trained them to hide their pain, to swallow disappointment, and to keep walking no matter how heavy the load feels inside. I often think of a line from Seneca. Sometimes, even to live is an act of courage. For many men, simply enduring quietly, without showing their weakness, becomes their way of proving strength. But this silence often blinds the world to what it really longs for. Women sometimes believe men are searching for perfection, a flawless body, endless youth, or constant energy. Yet beneath the surface, their need is far more human. What they truly crave is a sense of safety, to be seen without judgment, to be acknowledged without correction, to know they can rest in a woman's presence without fear of being measured against impossible standards. When you strip away the myths, this becomes clear. An older man in the season of love after 60 does not ask for glitter or grandeur. He asks for recognition of his humanity. He is not drawn to the perfect woman, but to the woman who allows him to put down his shield. The high value he places on a partner comes not from how she impresses the world, but from how she makes him feel when the world fades away. Khalil Gibran said, "Tenderness and kindness are not signs of weakness and despair, but manifestations of strength and resolution." That is what men truly seek, a place where their strength is recognized, but their tenderness is welcomed too. So let me ask you, have you ever seen a man soften when he felt truly safe in your presence? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might give courage to another woman walking through that same silence. Think of a man's spirit like a house. Safety builds the walls, but respect is the foundation. Without it, nothing truly stands. Number 3. Respect, the core of love. A phrase like, "I love you," loses its meaning if it is followed by criticism, comparison, or dismissal. Yet a few simple words of respect can strengthen a man more than 1,000 romantic gestures. I once knew a woman named Dorothy who had been married to her husband, Leonard, for over 40 years. She told me her greatest lesson in marriage was this: never confuse love with respect. She loved him dearly, but in the early years, she often pointed out what he lacked, what he should do better, how he could change. She thought she was helping him improve. But what she saw instead was a man who slowly withdrew, spending longer hours in the shed, speaking less at the dinner table. One day, almost by accident, she said to him, "I respect how hard you work for us." She recalled how his entire posture shifted, as though a heavy coat had been lifted from his shoulders. From that day, she began to speak differently, not withholding love, but weaving it together with respect. And their marriage, she said, softened in ways she had never expected. This is why in Love After 60, respect often matters more than love itself. Because by this stage, men have lived long enough to know that words can be hollow. They have heard "I love you" spoken without sincerity. What they ache for is recognition, to be valued for who they are and what they give. When a woman says, "I see you," or "I respect what you do," or even "I appreciate you," it nourishes a part of him that has been hungry for decades. Think of it this way. A flower does not thrive on sunlight alone. It needs water to live. For a man, love may be the sunlight, but respect is the water. Without it, love dries up quickly. With it, even the oldest branches can bloom again. And so, if safety invites him to open the door, respect is what convinces him to stay. It is the foundation upon which late-life intimacy is built, and it is the reason why respect, more than any other gift, becomes the secret language he cannot resist. But even respect, as powerful as it is, cannot reach its fullest meaning unless it is joined with something even rarer: the courage to be vulnerable and the trust that makes it possible. Number 4. Vulnerability and trust. There comes a moment in every relationship when the quiet strength of respect is not enough by itself. Something deeper is needed, something more fragile yet more powerful. I often picture two people standing face to face, each wearing heavy armor. They can see one another, they can even speak to one another, but the steel between them prevents any true closeness. The truth is simple. Armor protects, but it also isolates. For many older men, this armor has been forged over decades. It was built on the expectation to never cry, never complain, never falter. Society rewarded them for stoicism and punished them for tenderness. And so the armor grew thicker, until even those who loved them most could not always reach inside. Yet Love After 60 offers a unique invitation, the chance to finally set down that weight, to step out of the iron suit and be known. Philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "He who conquers others is strong, but he who conquers himself is mighty." The paradox here is that true strength in a man's later years is not about carrying the armor longer, but about daring to remove it. And what makes that possible is trust. The quiet assurance that when he reveals his unguarded self, he will not be met with ridicule or rejection, but with gentleness. Think of it as opening a window in a long-closed room. The air that rushes in is not dramatic, but it is life-giving. Vulnerability, when it is met with safety, breathes new life into connection. A man who feels he can finally say, "I'm tired," or "I'm afraid," without being diminished, is a man who has found true intimacy. And sometimes it only takes one sentence to unlock that trust. Words like, "I believe in you," and "I'm here no matter what." For a man who has carried burdens silently for a lifetime, those words are not just reassurance, they are release. They tell him he no longer stands alone. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how a relationship changes when someone finally feels safe enough to speak their hidden fears? Share your reflections in the comments. Your story might help another woman recognize that tender moment when a man begins to lay down his guard. It's a strange thing. The right words, spoken at the wrong time, can feel more painful than silence itself. Number 5. Timing is everything. I once spoke with a woman named Helen, who told me about a lesson she learned late in her marriage. Her husband, Victor, had come home after a long day, shoulders heavy, eyes distant. She tried to comfort him right away, saying, "You'll be fine, you always are." But instead of softening, he grew even quieter. Later that evening, after dinner, when the house was calmer, she touched his hand and whispered, "I know today was hard, but I respect how you carry so much for us." That time, the words landed. She said his eyes filled with tears, and it was the first time in years he let her see him that vulnerable. It's a strange thing. The right words, spoken at the wrong time, can feel more painful than silence itself. Words are powerful, but timing decides whether they fall like healing rain or like stones. For older men, this truth becomes even sharper with age. A man in his 60s or 70s has weathered decades of routines, disappointments, and lessons. His emotional rhythm may not move quickly. Sometimes he needs space before he can hear tenderness. Other times he needs the right pause before a phrase can reach him. Speaking too soon or too late can turn even the gentlest words into noise. I often imagine it like planting seeds. You can hold the best seeds in the world, but if you drop them onto dry, cracked soil, nothing will grow. The soil must be prepared, watered, and softened by the season. In the same way, words of love, respect, or encouragement need the right conditions in a man's spirit to take root. When spoken with awareness of his energy and his moment, they become nourishment. When spoken carelessly, they dry up before they ever touch him. This is where emotional intelligence becomes so important in love after 60. It is not only what you say, but when you choose to say it. A well-timed phrase can feel like shelter on a weary day, while the same phrase spoken in haste can feel dismissive. A woman who notices the rhythm of her partner, the way he breathes after a long day, the silence he carries after a disappointment, learns to speak into the spaces where his heart is open. And here lies the secret. The words he cannot resist are not magical by themselves. Their magic comes from the timing, from being spoken when his soul is ready to hear them. Love respect, and trust come alive not only in what is said, but in the moment they are received.
As we close, I want you to carry with you one final picture. Love after 60 is like tending an old garden. The roots run deep, the branches have weathered many storms, and the bark carries scars from seasons long past. At first glance, it may look tired, but with the right care, it still has the power to bloom. For men, the care they long for is not complicated. It is being seen, being respected, and being trusted. These are the waters that reach their roots. You may not always realize how thirsty they are until you see their spirit respond, like a tree that suddenly flowers again in spring. We've spoken about the power of words, the armor of silence, the need for respect, and the courage of vulnerability. But in the end, it is not about theory. It is about how you choose to speak into the life of the man beside you. Even the strongest man cannot resist when he hears words that tell him, "I see you, I respect you, I believe in you." Those are the words that turn winter branches into blossoms. Love after 60 is like tending an old garden. The roots are deep, the branches weathered, but with the right words, with respect and trust, even the oldest tree can blossom again. And that is the secret he craves. Not youth, not perfection, but the gentle spring you bring with your voice. Thank you for being here with me on Wise Life After 60. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, take care of your spirit and keep tending to the gardens of love around you.